All right, guys. Thank you guys all for coming. Rich, we got a big crew.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
All right, what do we got?
Scrimmage yesterday. How'd it go? And just kind of where you guys at right
It was good. We got in the stadium. I moved it back. Something I wish I had done in the past. We started later, so we were on the field at noon. Kind of get in the sun, very similar to what it's going to be like for our first 3 games, which was kind of different, right? Because usually we go right away in the morning, so the guys had a lot of downtime in the morning, so it felt like a build-up for a game. So I'm going to do that a little bit more. I think that helped. Put the coaches in the booth. We went more than we ever have since I've been here because we have more players and there's more competition and depth. So we went over 100 plays. Some good, some bad, some need for improvement. Overall, I like where we're at a lot. I think it's good to get in there, get the coaches off the field, and just play football. So it was a good day. I really like where we're at, and I really like this team. So we got a week left, really, of camp still. So we know exactly what we need to work on in stress, and then we'll kind of do that, put camp to bed, and get into the regular season, which is kind of crazy. It's already here.
Is the 2 deep coming into focus right now?
It's getting there. There's still some decisions we have to make, and I'm not going to get into details on those yet. We talked a lot about that as a staff this morning after evaluating this scrimmage. It's different. This is the first time in my time here that there's competition in depth, and we're having some hard decisions, and I'm gonna have some hard conversations, which is a good thing. That means that we're building this right. We've got good players that are being developed, and now if a guy gets injured, we got a good backup ready to go. And I think you're going to see more people play. I think we'll roll more players because of that, and that will be valuable to give this team, which a lot of them are still young, a lot of experience.
So it'd be safe to say there's thin margins between 1 and 3?
1 and 2,
1 and
there's
2?
really thin margins.
Okay.
And then we have some guys who gained experience last year that are 3s. So usually it's here are the 1s, go play, and we got to get the 2s ready. So it's different in that regard.
How much does things change between guys if you find guys that, I remember a couple weeks ago, Coach Shimko said some guys like some things, some guys don't like some things. As a coach, how do you balance when you can shove a guy in and tinker versus stopping, tinkering and letting guys go according to how you have it?
Well, at this point, we got to figure out what this team can do well, and kind of pull back. We have a lot installed. All right, so let's take defense, for example. What have our guys done really well? And what hasn't been productive and doesn't look good? Is it because it's not a good scheme or because the players just can't execute it? Either way, it's time to move on. If this late into it doesn't look good. But it's about players, not plays. So it's our job to figure out what they can do and make sure they can do it well and play 100 miles per hour. That's coaching, and that's another conversation this morning. Find out really what do we want to hone in on this week that we're really good at and our players can handle. And then there's some guys that are better at some other things. I mean, we have some safeties who are really good in man coverage and are really good in the middle of the field, and maybe they're not starting, but maybe they should be on 3rd down, or maybe they should be in certain situations, and it's our job to figure that out, which is fun now because, like I said, we have more players who we feel comfortable putting on the field, so there's certain packages that are good.
And then just definition-wise, as I always hear install, coaches always talk about install, what kind of goes into the actual install? Like, is that just straight scheme, walkthrough type stuff, or is that?
Well, each install, take install 1. How many coverages do you want to put in that day? This coverage, this coverage, this coverage, this blitz, this blitz, this blitz, right? And they usually marry up together. Now we're on like install 10 or 11. Sometimes you got to go back to install 1 and reintroduce some stuff that maybe they're not as familiar with or we haven't done as much. And that's where we're at right now. It's finding what we can handle, what we can excel at, but you still got to keep the other things in your back pocket because you're going to need them at some point during the season. You got to have different things and you got to adapt. That's why you try to put a lot on them in training camp.
Who are some guys who made big jumps from the start of camp until now?
That's a good question. Let's start defensively. John Pupil is a guy. Honestly, he's a really good football player. He's tough. He's instinctive. He keeps finding the football. He's really smart. I mean, that guy, when you talk about a safety who can get a team lined up, and he can run, he's probably one of the biggest surprises for me. Nigel Tate. Nigel's a guy who was probably 340 plus and wasn't ready to play because he was too heavy and he couldn't run. And he's a real twitched up athlete. He's about 314 now. Nigel's looked really good. He's a surprise, right? Somebody that in the spring I I didn't know if we'd be able to count on him. He's close to being able to count on. Like John, John's in the mix, John's in a battle, and I'm not talking about the play, John's in the battle to start, and he's earned that. And that kind of came a little bit out of left field because I really hadn't seen him play very much. Offensively, I don't know if it's a surprise or not, because I'm not surprised by it, but Lewis Bond has emerged into, in my opinion, one of our better offensive players. He's a guy we can trust. He can do so many different things. You can line him up all over. He's smart. He's reliable. He makes plays. He's got great hands. He can return. He's a guy, I'm not sure if he'll be out here today, but talk to him. He's a special kid, and he deserves everything that's coming to him. So I'm really impressed with him. You know, those are some, just off the top of my head, some of the guys that maybe I wouldn't have expected as much, and they've done a really nice job.
I know guys are battling, but offensive line in particular,
Yep.
how important is it to have the five that you know, in terms of that continuity that we talked about, or can you still wait a week and not necessarily know that top five yet?
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good idea, to be honest with you. I think we know who our top 6 are, maybe top 7, and those guys all need reps, but we got them pretty much solidified at where they're playing. So when they are playing, there is continuity, and the same guys are playing with each other. That is really important. The memories of not having the same O-line for 9 straight weeks hopefully never happen again in the history of football. So it's really fun to have the continuity in the group. But you also better be ready to plug some guys in with those guys because we all know how that could go. But I feel pretty good about the 5. Where we're at and who they'll be and where they'll play and stay.
What's the division of labor going to be like with the coaching staff on offense, with the play calling and things like that?
I think on offense, I believe it's going to be, you know, between Coach Chud, Coach Shimmy. I think there'll be a good collaborative effort there. I'm really impressed with the way that's run. I'm impressed when I sit in those meetings. It's allowed me really I put all my trust in those guys. It's nice having Chud in there as the former NFL head coach, and I think Shimmy is really impressive. So to watch those guys do it together, and then Coach Wyatt's got so much input now from what he's done in all his time, all the places he's been, and then Matt obviously in the run game. There's no ego in that room, and it is really a collaborative effort, and I really like where they're at, and I like how they've practiced, and I thought they've done a good job even in the scrimmages.
Half the teams in the ACC have new offensive coordinators. Do you think that there's a reason for that, or maybe you can just speak about yours?
Just speaking about ours, I mean, as you look around this league, yeah, a lot of them did make changes. Some got other jobs. Some chose to get other coaches. I like where we're at. It's going to be tough to defend. They throw a lot at you. It's kept me up a lot of nights. It would be interesting to see. What's maybe the most impressive thing is we got smart players. I mean, we've thrown a lot at them on offense, and they've done a really good job. But we're going to run the ball. Like, we're going to run the ball. We're going to be physical, and we're going to be really aggressive. But we're going to do some other things that people haven't seen or won't be prepared for. I mean, what are they going to watch the first couple weeks? I mean, that's the biggest question. I mean, what are they going to look at to prepare, which is kind of neat when it's a collaborative effort. Whose film are they watching? You know, and that's the challenge early in the season. If it is a new coordinator, you don't really know what you're going to get. So you got to keep it a little bit vanilla and trust your rules.
You worked with Chud in Cleveland, right?
No, Chud was before I was in Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, Chud was the head coach, and then I went to Cleveland, and Mike Pettin was the head coach. I knew Chud. I had a relationship with Chud. I think the first time I met Chud was at Scott Turner, who was last year the coordinator of the Commanders. Now he's with the Raiders. I sat at Scott's wedding. I sat at a table with Chud and got to know him there, and that was probably 12 years ago. So I've known Chud, and then we formed a relationship there. I coached against Chud. I mean, he was the offensive coordinator of the Colts when I was in San Francisco. He's very hard to prepare for. So guy's got experience. You know, having him and Paul, I mean, I can't wait till you guys talk to Paul. I mean, you guys, my story with Paul, I've told a lot of you guys that. I mean, when I was probably 21, 22 years old, I saw him speak at a clinic, and I thought he was the man, and I wanted to be him when I grew up. So then 2 weeks later, I found him in another clinic. He sat in the front row. 2 weeks later, I found him in another clinic, and then he finally looks at me like, "Are you stalking me?" And I was like, "No." So then I actually started getting up there and helping him. So then I started working the camp, and every year he'd invite me back to work the camp, and then he hired me as a GA. And then when he went to Auburn to be the defensive coordinator, I got hired to be the DB coach at 27 years old. We kept in touch. I'd go stay at his house when he was head coach at Iowa State. One year I helped install punt for them because we were doing some different stuff on punt when I was coaching a lot of special teams as well. Stayed at his house, hung out, and talk every year. And then I finally, when Tim left, he was the guy, and the timing was perfect. Ex-head coach, mentor, friend, my new neighbor. He lives right next to me. Like, seriously, no kidding. He is my neighbor. So if I look out my window, it's like, hey, Paul. I'm not even joking. That's how close he
Who's
lives.
throwing snow on whose driveway or yard at that point?
I'll probably have to be the one clearing off his driveway because I owe him for all the years that he's helped me. But just my relationship with him, having two ex-head coaches, it's really helpful. We have a good staff. I love coming to work every day. I trust this group. I love the players on the team. This is as much fun as I've had coming to work every day since I've been here. You guys are going to see that with how our players play this year, too. I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for this season. I like this group.
Is that more common than maybe people realize, that you meet one coach at a wedding and you meet another guy at a camp and stuff like that, and that's how kind of coaches meld together?
It's all relationships, right? And it's all your network. I mean, in the NFL, truthfully, when you start coaching the NFL, you kind of, there's only 32, right? So I was a DB coach. So there's only 31 others. So you start to form a network, and you start to see each other around. You see each other in preseason games. You see each other at the NFL Combine. See each other at the Combine. You go out, you have dinner. It's a very tight-knit group, that league. So guys get pretty close, yeah. And I mean, for me, just like anything else, one of the best things about being a coach, not just your relationships with the players, but the relationship with the other coaches. Like, to have a guy like Paul who literally changed my life. Like, you guys don't understand. When I saw him clinic and talk, like, he inspired me to do what I'm doing today. And then for him to hire me, and then for me to come back full circle and hire him, I mean, that is what life's all about, right? It's about helping people. It's about relationships. It's about friendships. That's the cool thing about this game that we get to coach that a lot of people don't get to experience. The highs and lows we share with each other. I mean, I'm so grateful for him, so grateful. And I'm glad I got him here with me now.
Go back to personnel a little bit.
Yeah. I'll answer. We're good. You two aren't going to fight, are you?
No, he'd kill me.
Rich on that.
I take Kevin.
Maybe we should have, I'm just joking.
Steel cage.
What is this, Elon Musk versus Zuckerberg?
That's what I was going to say. I'm not getting into that. Go ahead.
Back to personnel. Where's Sheet at right now? And can he give you what Marcus gave you last year?
Yeah, she'd had a really good scrimmage.
Okay.
That end room there's a lot of competition in the end room. Donovan's taken a step,
Yeah.
to be very honest with you. Donovan's a better player right now than I've ever seen him play. The way he's playing against the run game, how smart he's playing, he's heavier, he's stronger. And Neto's playing really well. So that's like a boxing match going back and forth.
Right.
Some days Neto's with the ones. Sheeta, what he did yesterday, Sheeta deserves to be with the ones. But don't forget about Edwin, because here comes Edwin. So now all of a sudden there's 4 guys battling for 2 spots, which is good because, I mean, you've watched us play. Vinny's going to rotate guys. But those, when I talk about battles, like when you guys see the depth charts and you start to see oars, there's going to be games where the different guys going in with the ones because who deserves to be out there should be. Sheeta took a big step yesterday, really big step. If he's healthy and he does what he can, he's going to have a great year. And I'm proud of him for that because that guy's battled through a lot. 2 injuries, he's continued to fight and get better, and he's playing his best football right now.
Coach, the ACC show the other day,
Yeah.
when you were talking to them, you mentioned the veterans kind of disciplining themselves now.
Mm-hmm.
Was that an issue in years past, or is it just this year it's kind of come naturally?
It's been, I felt like in the past, it's been the coaches holding the players accountable. And that's okay. I think as you build something and you try to get the culture to where you want it to be, you need to set the tone. And you have to hold people accountable. You have to. You can't let things slide. But when your players start holding each other accountable, it's different. And we did not have that. And I kind of started to step back and watch that. And that was a cool moment for me because they're getting it. And the culture is building. The guys are getting older. I mean, again, the guys we brought in are juniors. And we have a great group of seniors. And we've brought in some transfers. But when you get some of your juniors and seniors saying, hey, that's not okay, that's not the way we do things around here, and I see or hear that, then I know they're listening. And it's the same thing if you go back to why this team didn't quit or stop playing hard last year. It's because they believe in the staff and they believe in each other. But now they're older, and now they can hold each other accountable. So that's real leadership. When your players hold each other accountable and your players can lead and the coaches don't have to, you got something going. That's why I'm excited about these guys.
So did that start in spring ball, or has it just been kind of a,
I saw it start to happen this summer.
okay,
Yeah, really for the first time this summer, which it's a really cool thing to see. And I think the players will tell you that because that word is getting thrown around a lot right now in our locker room, not by me, but by the players. I talk about attitude, effort, and accountability. You control your attitude. Your circumstances shouldn't, right? Your attitude controls everything, and I constantly preach that to them. And then our effort. This year we're gonna play harder than everybody we play, period. And then they need to be accountable. And in order to do that, they need to take ownership, and they're starting to take ownership. Because accountability is what holds everything together. And when it comes from them, that's when I know we're getting it.
now, do you have captains yet?
I do not.
Okay.
Which is also going to be, I got to decide, we need to decide, are we going to have captains or are we going to have game captains? Because right now, I'm not sure who they vote for, and they might vote for multiple. So I need to figure that out as well, because there's more than 3 leaders on this team right now. So we need to figure that out this week.
Back to the O-line, considering all the injuries last year, have you kind of thought about trying people in new positions in camp or early in the season, like putting a defensive guy on offense, or vice versa, just kind of?
We have not had to do that this year. We did it last year. 2 of our starters were defensive guys last
Yeah,
year.
no, I mean like in preparation, like have you done it now?
We've got-
Considering you had to last year.
No, we've got depth. We got more guys this year. No, but we have done a good job of, like, take Kyle Hergel, for example. We've gotten him reps at center.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mahogany's gotten snaps at center. One, it's going to help them for their futures because a guy like Kyle, to play in that next league, he needs to be a center guard, right? Unless you're just the top guy to make an NFL roster, you have to have versatility. So who are our best guys? Are we better off if this guy who's a starter becomes a backup center and then we plug this guy in at guard? So that's the stuff we're thinking about now. So having some versatility in those guys. Can this guy play tackle and guard? Because if he's our next best guy, then put him in, right? If your 6th lineman can play guard and tackle, that's awesome. Because then you don't have to go to your 7th, right? And so that's the stuff we're working on. But I hope I never have to go again and take a defensive lineman and play him on offense, unless it's like in the spring. We got to do that in the season again, and then just come and knock me out.
Coach, it's media day, so I want to give you at least one non-serious, nonsensical question. Did you go on vacation this year at all? No?
In the summer?
Yeah, did you at
Yeah,
least get a vacation in?
I did,
Was
yeah.
it good? Where'd you go?
If you could pick one place where I went, where do you think it would be? No,
Gotta be south.
Jersey Shore.
Yeah,
Jersey Shore.
How'd you know that?
Well, we talked about
Yeah,
Myrtle
we
Beach
we
the
told
other
him.
day.
I went each year. My brother, my sister, my mom, we go to Long Beach Island and get our whole family under one roof. So cousins, kids. So we do that. Then Gene and I took the kids away, and then I had to go up to a wedding. My sister-in-law got married in Canada, so I had to go up to Canada. But that was my summer.
It's a Jersey Shore guy?
Yeah,
Fist pumping and
You have the answer
everything?
now.
or-
you can,
Sun's out,
you
guns out.
can,
Sounds like, yeah.
you
Trim
can,
tan laundry?
you can think whatever you'd like.
Going to Springsteen Thursday?
I wish. I went to Springsteen in March. I can't go Thursday. I'd love to, but I can't.
Is this sort of the time of the year where the anticipation builds and what's sort of the next week or so leading into the game look like?
This week we're gonna go hard versus ourselves. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we'll pull back. Thursday I'm gonna start to dip into showing them some of what our opponent's gonna do to get a bonus. We got work to do. We need to worry about ourselves Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then the players' day off will be Saturday. We'll have a bonus practice on Sunday. They'll start, I believe, start school. So Monday's our players' day off. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and get ready to play. It's coming. Yep.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I broke the cardinal rule